Hey guys, good afternoon. Now listen to this glorious, powerful story of Joseph. I'm going to share the whole video I'm working on the story of Joseph on my YouTube channel. But for right now, I'm going to give you a little bit of the story of Joseph, which I believe some of us can relate with him. I believe I can almost relate with everybody in the Bible in one area or the other. But Joseph, for sure, I can relate with Joseph. Now, listen to this. A prophet is without honor in his hometown. That's what Jesus says. Now, Joseph, when he was younger, he was one of 12 brothers. Jacob was their father. Well, the father favored Joseph above all the other fathers. There's a reason why. I think it was because he was born of Jacob's old age. And so he favored him. Now, the brothers hated Joseph because Joseph was their father's favorite. They were jealous. Well, Joseph not only was favored by their father, but also by God, because God is our father, right? Well, he was favored by God, and God gave him visions and dreams. Jacob was a visionary, he was a dreamer, and God gave him prophetic dreams that would actually, later in the story, would come to pass. Now, after he shared the dreams with his brothers even got more jealous, and they hated him even more. So what'd they do? They conspired to kill him, but they ended up agreeing to sell him, make some money off him to the Ishmaelites. And so after he sold him, what happened was, it's very powerful because, we can relate with Joseph, being without honor in our hometown, being without honor in our home church. His brothers hated him and was so jealous of him so much that they silenced him. They didn't want him to speak. They didn't give him room. They didn't want to hear him talk anymore. They didn't want to hear his dreams. They didn't want to hear what he was learning. They just didn't, because it was jealousy. They wanted to be in the spotlight. They didn't want to jeopardize their glory and their reputation or their attention that they received probably from other people, right? And so some of us can completely relate with that. But listen to this. Joseph had three options when he went to when he was enslaved by the Ishmaelites, which eventually I think he was a slave in Egypt. He could have rebelled against the Egyptian army and the Egyptian system. He could have rebelled as a slave. Secondly, he could have just conformed and started to worship the gods of the Egyptians and to please men and do whatever they wanted, whenever they wanted, however they wanted, and just to please man so that they can win, their favor, right? Or third, he could have, and this is what he did, he stayed faithful to God in the midst of that. He didn't rebel. He didn't conform to their other false gods. He stayed faithful to God. And God found favor and raised him up in where he was enslaved in. He actually named one of his sons, I forget what the name was, but what it means is that God makes us fruitful in the land of our affliction. God made Joseph fruitful in the land of his affliction. And so he does for us, right? People are going to want to silence us. People are not going to want us to, have any influence because they want to be the influencer and they want to be in charge. They want to be in the spotlight. But I'm here to tell you that God found favor in Joseph and raised him up. God is finding favor in us as well. But we must be faithful like Joseph. We must be faithful to God, just like Joseph was. And in due time, he will lift us up for his name's sake. And praise God for that story, right? I mean, even in the prophetic dreams that God gave to Joseph, they actually came to pass because later on in the story, Joseph saw his brothers and his dad. They didn't even notice Joseph because he was a second in command in the army. They didn't even know it was his brother, but they eventually ended up bowing down to him, right? Just like the prophetic dream about the sheaves and the sun and the moon. And so, his visions were prophecies. His dreams were prophecies. And how much do us has visions and dreams? I have a vision too that I'm going to be preaching to thousands and people are going to come to God. But I also have a dream where God is going to be speaking through me. It's not so much just going to be me preparing, sermons and being ready, which I am, but God's going to speak through me and use my mouth, right? And those are the dreams that I see that I know that are prophetic and I know they're going to happen. They're going to happen for you as well. Stay faithful to God. Don't please man. Be a pleaser of God, and he will lift you up. We just got to trust and be faithful to him. He will do the hard work. He will do the impossible. Love you guys. God bless. Have a good day.